Welcome to Inspiring Narratives, your favorite channel for uplifting stories, renewed hope, and cultivating a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Discover with me the transformative power of faith, dua, and dhikr by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and find out how turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can lead you to profound change and inner peace. Let's start by sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I have two wonderful stories to share with you today about being blessed with wealth through dhikr. As you listen to the stories, you will come to realize the practical ways that I am referring to inshallah achieve all your financial goals and beyond, inshallah. So the man of the first story says, my cousin and I were changing the oil in the car, waiting for my car to be finished. A man came in continuously seeking forgiveness. For half an hour he kept saying, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. The man came and went and finally greeted us with Assalamu alaikum, how are you? So I was very curious, his continuous seeking forgiveness. So I asked him, I said, I have a question, but I'm shy to ask. The man answered, no problem, ask. From the moment you came in, you have been seeking forgiveness non-stop for more than half an hour. What's the story? The man laughed and said, may Allah always guide us. I have a government job and often travel alone. Sometimes things go well, other times not so much. Only Allah knows my situation. I come and go and I lock the door behind me. After 12 months, a woman told me, do you know what will get you out of this state? She lifted her head with the Quran in her hand and said, this will help you. It was the first time she had said this to me. She placed the Quran on the table and said, read it. I started reading the Quran slowly and came across the verse, He will send rain from the sky upon you in continuing showers and give you increase in wealth and children and provide for you gardens and provide for you rivers. I felt that the verse, increase in wealth, resonated with me deeply. I started to seek forgiveness everywhere while I was standing, sitting, walking. I had a firm belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would fulfill His promise and provide for us. And indeed, subhanallah, now I have 13 million riyals in my bank account. I had nothing but faith in the promise of seeking forgiveness, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fulfilled His promise, subhanallah. Next story was shared by Sheikh Hafiz Dosari, which he witnessed firsthand. It's about a widowed woman in Saudi Arabia. After her husband passed away, she was left with young children and no way to support them. Her husband's inheritance ran out and she couldn't work because she had to take care of her kids. Desperate, she turned to begging. Every Friday, she would leave her children with a neighbor and sit at the mosque's gate, hoping for the generosity of those attending prayers. Initially, people felt sorry for her and gave her money, but as time went on, that changed. Sheikh Hafiz, who often gave sermons at the mosque, noticed her situation. One Friday she approached him directly, explaining her troubles and asking for help. The Sheikh asked, have you relied and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before asking people for help? She replied, I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I always perform my 5 daily prayers. He advised her, pray the sunnah prayers also, and ask Allah for forgiveness frequently, and increase in the saying of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Encourage your children to do the same. Trust in Allah and He will provide a way out for you, on the condition that you be mindful of Allah when alone and when amongst people. So she went home and made Istighfar throughout the whole day of Friday. The next few Fridays, the Sheikh didn't see her at the mosque. Curious, he asked someone who knew her to take him to her home. When they arrived, the house was empty and quiet. A neighbor told him that recently they had left. So I told them, she's a poor woman. How has she gone? They said, Subhanallah al-Azim, she told us that she was advised to make istighfar and hawqala frequently, and she was continuously in that state of dhikr all day, every day. The neighbors told the Sheikh that a distant relative of hers had come by and proposed to her, and they got married. The Sheikh left completely puzzled by what he had heard. After some time, he came to know of the distant relative as he knew him personally. This distant relative is one of the wealthiest men in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I knew him personally, so I called him to ask about the woman. He said, are you Sheikh Hafiz? I said, yes. He said, she told me all about you and your advice to her. So the Sheikh was curious to know what happened. The man explains, I swear by Allah, I wasn't thinking about her or intending on getting married at all. Actually, I didn't even know her. One night I went to bed and someone woke me up and told me to go to so-and-so and take care of her children and bless her from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with of wealth. So I asked my mother and sisters about this woman. They told me she is a poor widowed woman, the woman of so-and-so. She lives in such and such city. So we got dressed. My mother and I went to visit her with what Allah had blessed us of, food, drinks and goods. I knocked on her door. I handed her the goods and told her this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we were leaving, my mother said, do you not want to gain reward through this woman? She is a pious woman and she is beautiful. Why don't you marry her? I agreed immediately and asked my mother to propose on my behalf. She accepted and we got married. This woman's life changed completely. From begging at the mosque to becoming the wife of one of Riyadh's richest men. This woman and her children are now living a life she could only ever dreamed of. All because of the dhikr, subhanallah. This story illustrates the saying of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever regularly, it doesn't say who seeks forgiveness 100 times or 30,000 times. Whoever regularly seeks forgiveness, Allah will make a way out of every difficulty, relieve their anxiety, and provide sustenance from unexpected sources. End of hadith. Expect miracles, expect wonderful surprises. Allah has said He will provide sustenance from unexpected sources. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised in the Quran, if we seek forgiveness, He will increase us in wealth. That's Allah's promise to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change your life in extraordinary ways.